Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Monday Live Show with Alan and Greg and our guest, Elisabeth from Bookins and Books. How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
Let's see.
Running low.
No, that cuts off her face on that one.
I'm not centered. I don't know why. Oh, the camera is there. Ah, there's the camera. Okay. I was looking at the wrong dot.
Do we like that better? Or do we like this one better?
I don't care.
I like this one.
You like that one? All right, let's just go with it. All right. So, as Liz and I, we're just a little bit chatting before we went live. Everyone, it seems, is getting a little bit of snow this evening. Even down here in Virginia, we got a little bit of a dusting. Nothing serious, but Elizabeth, you're in Ottawa, so you must have.
At the moment, it's not snowing, but this weekend it snowed a lot. We have about this thick of snow, like 8 inches, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
8 inches. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm glad I'm not shoveling.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've got about a quarter of an inch, and it's still a little bit of a dusting going on. So,
yeah. But you
And
can't
my-
wait
I
until
got
it
about-
melts. We can't do that
We
in
got about
Canada.
a foot. We got about a foot in Portland.
Wow.
Yeah, and
It's a lot for Portland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does
it
it look like it's
I-
going to stay? Or is it going to
yeah,
melt?
it's staying for a few days because it's still pretty cold, like 20 degrees.
Ooh,
But
yeah.
the sun's coming out tomorrow, like Annie says.
Okay. At least.
Yeah,
At least.
the
That's
sun
all
will
right.
come out tomorrow.
It's supposed to be the low of 10 degrees here in Virginia tomorrow.
Well,
Oh, I think that's colder than what we have. Yeah,
Well,
here
we're
it's in
Fahrenheit.
Celsius, but
Yeah, you're well. What? Let me see. What is Alexa? What is 10 degrees in Celsius?
10 degrees Fahrenheit is minus
12.
12.
Minus 12.
minus 12. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it's colder than what we have. We are well in the night we have that, but during the day it was minus 5, minus 6. So I suppose
Okay.
that must be like 20, 25.
Yeah. Well, as I said, my cat does not like it because he's now addicted to being walked, and if you take him out when it's cold, he'll walk out the front stoop and he'll look at it, and then he'll turn right around and say, "No, I'm not going out in this."
what is this new hell?
Yeah.
Wow, we got a bunch of people. I'm just going to say hi to everyone in the chat room. We've got Zach,
Hello.
Gareth.
Hello, Gareth.
Oh, we've got Randy Ray, the literate Texas. Hey,
Hello, Randy.
hey, y'all! It's cold here in Texas. I can't stay for the whole show, but I'll be here for a while. All right. Hello, James Holder.
Hello, James.
Another guy from
Yeah.
Texas. I believe he's from Texas.
Yep.
Of course, Texas is so big, he could be having different weather entirely.
Yeah.
The almighty Ohm.
Hello, the Almighty. Salut.
We've got Lee
Hello,
Kinter.
Lee.
I'm here finally, everyone. Great to see you. Hey,
Yeah.
Lee. I'm still waiting for that book to come in. She sent me a book, and it's just not arrived. Should arrive a day or two.
Hello, Ariane.
Gareth says, minus 12. Ouch.
Uh.
Randy Lowe, my Kindle Fire heard you, and it starts answering your question, and it freaks me out. Here's Jim. Hey, everyone. Can't stick
Hello.
around, but I wanted to say hello. Randy? Yeah, he's talking about every time you answer the question, everyone's device goes off. And hello,
Hello.
Hannah. I'm so glad to finally be able to join the live due to a schedule change. Welcome, Elisabeth. Yeah, well, welcome, Hannah. Hannah's going to be a guest on this show next month.
Oh,
Awesome.
thank you, Randy.
And we got Randy
Hello,
just subscribed to your channel. And Read by Fred is here. Hello, Fred. Yep, Lee says my book on women in ancient Rome will arrive tomorrow.
Oh, ancient Rome.
Wow.
Yeah, for Historathon, because she had 2 copies, and
Okay.
share the copies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hello, Hello, fellow Canadian.
All right. So tonight, like I said, we don't normally have a big schedule, although Elizabeth and I do want to talk about the Book 2 prize nominations. We're going to get to that real soon. But traditionally, we start with what you have been reading recently or currently reading that you'd like to show people and highlight.
Okay. So
So
I'm
Elizabeth,
starting.
as a guest, you get to go first.
Well, the one that I'm currently reading, it's in French and only in French. It is about stress at work versus stress from work. But I suppose it's of no interest to you, so I'll just move on. And
No,
I've been
we
reading
get
about
stressed.
ancient
We
Rome.
get stressed.
Oh,
Where's the camera? Darn. On this
Emperor
side.
Rome.
Yeah, Emperor of Rome by Mary Beard. And it is on the list for the Book 2 prize.
Well, I said there's a Mary Beard on the Book 2 prize.
There is. It's this one.
This one.
So I am I am at page 122. So I've read 3 chapters so far. And it's not about a specific emperor. It's really about the lives of emperors in general, what we know about them, what they ate, how they lived, and eventually how they will be murdered, because not many of them died a natural death. And
Then he die a natural death.
so far it's very good. But the reason I'm reading about stress is that I'm very stressed. So my mind is not focusing on anything and I'm sort of butterflying around on everything. And because I was reading about Emperor of Rome, I had that book too, Julius Caesar by Shakespeare. So I'm in the middle of it. Well, somewhere in Act 2, I think. So I'm reading that too.
Okay. Now, I have not read Mary Beard yet. I have SPQR on my Kindle.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of those books that's just I'll get to it someday.
Yep.
But from what I heard is that it's not a good introduction to the history of Rome. That is,
I thought it was.
It was? All right.
I'm not particularly familiar with the history of Rome, so if there were things missing or if there were things that were not, I don't know, quite orthodox or something, I did not notice them. So for me, I thought it was very good. Yeah. And very readable.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
We'll get to the Mary one a little bit later this evening, I think.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else?
At the moment, that's what I'm reading, currently reading. Yeah.
Ah.
I haven't finished anything yet because it's a bit chaotic in my apartment at the moment and my mind is just all over the place.
I can imagine.
I do.
Yeah.
All right, Alan, what have you been reading?
I'm reading the same old thing. You know, I got War and Peace, plowing through that.
Yeah, you'll be reading that for a little while.
Yeah, it's a reread for me. So I've got some notes, and it's a Voxer group read, so that's fun.
Mhm.
Then this is Buddy Read with Scott, the Bookish Bryant's Salman Rushdie's first book. We're enjoying that.
Mhm.
Then I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita in a group read with Greg and the Almighty Om.
This one I don't know.
You know the
Oh,
Bhagavad Gita. It's part of the Mahabharata. It's here, the ancient.
Yeah.
It's fixed in the middle.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I've never heard of it.
Upanishads, Hindu text,
Oh,
ancient Indian. Yeah,
okay.
like the
It's-
Upanishads and that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'm reading some poetry. I don't know where it is. Picked up some Walt Whitman. Just there was a video about how to read Leaves of Grass. I stumbled upon it. I said, "Oh, I haven't read Whitman in a few years. I'll pick him up again." I always like to enjoy some Walt Whitman,
Mm-hmm.
but that's about it. Doing a lot of art, really. I'm in an art mode.
Good. That's good for the soul.
Yes,
So,
I
what
don't
have you been reading? You know, I'm on the 100 book challenge, and so I like to pick out some shorter books to help pad.
Yeah.
And I have a very short book I'm going to show, and it was actually inspired by you, Elizabeth, because if anyone on BookTube has read this, it's you.
Okay.
This is The Art of Asking Your Boss for a Raise by George Perec.
I haven't read it.
You have
Is it
not
on
read
your
it.
PBR?
Well,
It's on your PBR.
well, let me just say that even for George Perec, this was mind-numbingly weird. In the late 60s, you know, the computers were these big room things, and one of these computer people sent out a flow chart of how to ask your boss for a raise and all the decisions that you'd have to come to get there. So it's like, is your boss in the office?
Yeah.
No. Go back to your desk. Is he at his office? You knock on the door. Does he answer? No. Go back to your desk. Then you go all the yeses. If he's there, does he let you come in? You're talking to him. If he starts talking about his daughters with measles, do you want to stay? So it's all this flow chart about all the possibilities of asking your boss.
Yeah.
So this book,
Yeah.
I did this in my little video today, where I'll read the comment from the translator, which I think is the best part of the book was this comment from
Yay for translators.
David Bellows.
Oh, yeah.
Translating a text in which is close to being unreadable in the original is a paradoxical but not particularly difficult task, since ordinary readability is hardly an issue. So this is all one sentence. No commas. The only punctuation are apostrophes, dashes, and em dashes.
Okay.
It's one period at the end of the book.
I have read all of Georges Perec's fiction because I have an omnibus of all the fiction. That one is not in there. So this one is non-fiction.
It's fiction because there's characters. There's the boss and the secretary, which he names. So it is fiction, but it's
non-fiction because it's true.
and it's just mind-numbingly dull.
Really?
You really walked it through.
Really, I mean, it's really. My eyes touch every page, but I was just like, okay. Like,
Oh yeah.
She-
Yeah. Perhaps just the flow chart would have been enough.
yeah, the flow chart is enough, and I won't reveal whether the poor guy gets his raise or not.
I'm going to think no.
But it's really George Perec exploring what you can do with language in a story.
Yeah.
That was what he was best at, really.
Yes. Well, he was a lexicographer, so he wrote dictionaries for a living, and he loved to play with language. That's yeah.
Okay, so that was my last book read. As I said, 99.99% of the population really does not need to read this book.
Only Perec enthusiasts.
But oddly enough, I'm sort of glad I did read it, or skim it, or whatever you call it when you just look at the possibilities. I get a feeling that David Bellows was not really impressed with this book that much, but he translated because it's Perec, and he wrote a biography of Perec, and pretty much is the main translator into English.
Yeah, he wrote a book, Is That a Fish in Your Ear? And
Yes.
it's about translation.
Good title.
Sorry, what did you say?
Good title.
Yeah, it came from a translation mistake. I don't remember from which language it was, but somehow it translated like that. Is that a
I
fish
thought
in your
it came
ear?
from Hitchhiker's Guide in the Galaxy.
Possible.
Or in that science fiction novel, we have babblefish, which is a type of alien you put in your ear, and then it translates every language for you.
That must be that. That must be it.
All right, let me catch up with some comments.
Yeah.
All right. There may be French speakers who watch it as well.
Oh, good point. I hadn't thought of it. I can show the book again.
Mary's book is next on my. I'm looking at my screen is split because I actually have a spreadsheet that I'm going to talk about real soon.
Okay.
So I'm having trouble reading the small text.
It says Mary's book is next on my list by my bad.
My
I think
bad. That's what I
probably
thought
Mary
it
Beard.
said. There is an interesting one on stress called "When My Body Says No."
Yeah, I'm sure it's good. Yep.
I do like guided meditations on stress and that sometimes, like a couple
Mhm.
times a week.
Hmm.
Yeah, I
Okay,
enjoy
so
that.
Almighty, I finished a Winnie the Pooh and Alice the Wonderland yesterday. Okay, I read Alice in Wonderland last year for the 100 book challenge.
Okay.
It's actually not what I would think a children's book would be today.
I read it years and years ago. I don't really remember it. It didn't strike me at the time. I think I was confused. I was expecting to see something like the cartoon that we had on TV, and it was not. So
Yeah, I don't think most children would understand it or appreciate it.
probably not.
So he's saying how to pronounce that book, the Mahabharata. Maha means great, and Bharata is how they
Naked, their country?
their country. India is a name that comes from Greek.
Oh, I think it's named.
Named, I think, yeah. That's
K and M. They're close on the keyboard.
the India is the English name for the country, and
Oh,
there's a movement to actually rename their country closer to what it is in their real language.
Yeah.
Don't forget to give a video a like, everyone. Yes, Jim, thank you. That would be great.
Name.
Now, Greg,
Yeah, he corrected himself.
Greg, you're halfway through your 100 book challenge now, aren't you?
I'm on book. I finished book
53?
56. I finished 56.
Oh,
This was 56, which I finished yesterday.
I see. Good. Good on you.
Yep, give it a thumbs up. All right. Am I the one that 2 likes? Might be just us.
I haven't put my like on yet, so
Up to 5 likes now. Yay! Double fish. Well, hello, Angelia. Hi, everyone. I'm dropping in for a few minutes. It doesn't hit freezing here often, but it is right now.
Yeah.
another person from Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Tejas.
Yep. Gareth was thinking that Hitchhiker's Guide too. When the body says no,
Is
a-
Gabor Mate a Canadian doctor? Yeah, I've heard
Oh,
of
I
him.
like him. I like
Um,
Gabor Mate.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think his most recent book is The Myth of Normal or something like that.
I like his TED Talks and all that. Yeah, Gabor Mate is great.
Hmm.
He talks a lot about addiction too.
Yeah.
So Al says, I bought a new to me translation of the Gita. So I assume I'm out of the read what you own. Maybe it depends on how you think about that. Because you own the Gita and you're just buying additional material for that book.
Well, it depends how you've worded your own personal 100 book challenge.
Exactly.
Now, I've said before that, like, if I come across a book that for whatever reason needs replacing, I'm allowed to replace it. Because one year I was reading a book that was it was printed, so the words are in the spine.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I said, well, you kind of have to replace it at that point.
Yeah.
And the myth of normal is also God.
Good.
God.
Mm.
And thanks for the cope about the challenge. Okay, we're at the end of the comments for now. So now Elisabeth and I are going to talk about the BookTube prize because we both volunteered to be judges in the nonfiction category.
Mm-hmm.
So overall, did you like most of the choices that you had?
But there were several I had never heard of. I had not noticed or I didn't know they existed. So I just researched them, and some of them I don't want to read. But there are plenty that I do want to read. So
See, how did you go about choosing? I mean, I'll tell you how I choose mine, but how did you go about choosing which books that you wanted to nominate?
I started by searching them all one by one. I went on the site LitHub. They have a place called Bookmarks where they gather reviews from a whole bunch of publications. And then for each review, they say whether it's a rave, positive review, a mixed review, or a pan. So it gives me a bit an idea if the book was super popular or if it was well regarded or not. And also it gives a bit of a summary, which I think is provided by the publisher, or like a one
Yeah.
sentence summary of the thing. It gives me an idea what it's about. So some of them I just strike out right away. I don't want to read that. Some of them it's obvious from the title or the author, like the celebrity memoirs. I'm not really into that. So no, I strike that out. And then as I do that, I sort of note or put a star beside the titles that I'm interested in. And I ended up with about 30 titles. And then from that, I just eliminated 10. I said, okay, not that one, not that one, not that one. And I ended up with 20.
Yeah, well, kind of similar. I used Amazon
Mhm.
because what I also want to do when I was researching a book, I wanted to know if there was an audio version and a Kindle version available.
Mhm.
And I wanted to know how many pages the book was.
Yeah.
And so what I did is then after that, I have an interest level, which is just ranking a book 1 to 5. How interested am I into this? You know, I did give some decimal points, like, you know,
Point
cheated. But then when it came to the end, I said, give me everything that's four or more. And like I said, I had enough to pick from there.
Okay.
And a couple of the books got zeros or ones. Because
Perhaps the celebrity memoir I just mentioned.
which one? There's a
Britney
couple.
Spears.
Britney Spears got. Before we get into the ones that we did, let's give the ones that are 1 star or less. Just. And the problem is, I know these books are going to be really popular with some people.
Mm-hmm.
And here's one. It was called Blackball by Teresa Rudenstalder. It's a sports book.
Yeah, one of the very few sports books. I think the only one that there was. Yeah.
Yeah, and I gave a 1 just because not interested.
Yeah, me neither.
Don't Tell Anyone the Secrets I Told You by Lucinda Williams.
Ooh.
This one I have a big scratch on it. It's one of those that I eliminated right away. I don't even remember what it's about.
I don't remember. Then the next one, and you tell me I'll go through mine. Then tell me your scratch outs after I tell you mine. Everything, Nothing, Someone by Alice. Someone, a memoir.
Yeah, I just wrote memoir.
That's what I wrote too.
I like memoir.
It depends which ones. The growing up memoirs, I think there was too many on the market at some point, and I sort of got saturated with those. And it was variations on growing without a mother, growing without a father, growing up in the South, growing up gay in the South, growing up gay and black, growing up.
Yeah.
It was always the same. So, well, not always. Of course, there were differences, but there was a general theme in there. So, yeah.
Right. I was thinking about Angela's Ashes the other day, though, and Frank McCourt.
Yeah.
And how much I love that memoir. It brought a little tear to my eye, too, thinking about him. Because he got really famous, and then he died soon after that.
Oh.
But, yeah, anyway. He got famous later in life, you know.
Yeah, it happens to some authors. They have been writing all their lives, and then suddenly something works at the end.
Right. Go on, Greg. Sorry.
No. So, and Elizabeth, if you got the ones you want are ones that I don't mention, I'd like to hear some of your scratch offs. But another one was How to Say Babylon by Sophia Sinclair, also a memoir.
Yeah, this one with a religious background. Yeah.
Irma by Terry McDonald. Oh, mine wasn't memoir. It said mother.
Memoir of a single mother raising a son. I'm not drawn to these memoirs at all. The ones that are strictly personal, I like the memoirs where somebody is being a witness to something. Like example that the probably is war memoirs. You were part of a
Right.
war, you were a
Right.
soldier, you were a civilian who got bombed with the atomic bomb, you were in a concentration camp, something like that. You have something to tell about the world. But the
Right.
memoirs are strictly about your little personal life. I have issues with those.
I tend not to like those either. But like you said, people like growing up in like there was a couple of World War or war histories memoirs that I don't remember if I voted. I'm not looking at my voted ones. I might have voted for some of those. We'll get to that later.
Mhm.
Another one is oh yeah, it's a bio of Madonna by Mary Gabrielle.
Yeah. Well, at least I know Madonna.
Yeah,
I
I
know
would
some
read
of her
that.
music.
I know, but if I'm listening to it and have a choice, I just like say next song or something.
I would read that. I like Madonna.
Oh, there's a biography of Barbara Streisand.
Yeah, I would read
That's a
that.
memoir. She wrote it herself.
She did.
Yeah,
It's one of the
Call Me
many
Barbara.
celebrity memoirs. Yeah.
And it's 992 pages long.
Yeah.
That's
And
with
I
photos.
think that one could make it in because she is popular, Barbara
I
Streisand.
actually think that has a strong possibility of making
Yeah,
it
like
in. Then, of course, The Woman in Me by Britney Spears.
Yeah, scratch. No.
Although the people who've read it seem to have really liked it
True.
for whatever.
Yeah. Oh, well, she had an interesting life, I guess. At least an interesting career. She started. She was very young, and
Yeah. She was
yeah,
a musketeer.
yeah, she was a musketeer. From what the age of
Musketeer,
8 years old or something like that.
something like that. Yeah.
And she was barely 18 when she made it to. Was she 18 or was she just 16?
I think she was 15 or 16 when she had her first album or something like that. She
Yeah,
was a
and
teeny bopper.
yeah, she became world famous overnight. And yeah, it must have been something.
All right.
Yeah.
So any other ones that struck you as not particularly interesting that I have not mentioned?
Well, the other celebrity memoir, Love, Pamela, by Pamela Anderson.
Oh, I have that
Oh,
too. It's on my
Yeah.
list. I just didn't.
Yeah. There was one that was a collection of essays, Tabula Rasa by John McPhee. It's a collection of essays never completed. So
John
something
McPhee.
unfinished, I figured I'm not interested. There was a book, if Anna from Anna's book is still there. It was about Willa Cather. I've never read anything by Willa Cather, so I figured
Neither.
I'm not going to vote for that, for a book about an author by whom I've never read anything.
I have read some, and some of her books are pretty good.
I'm sure they are. I'm sure they are.
And
But
if I were to look it up, I think I gave it like a 3, saying,
yeah.
okay, she's fine, but it's nothing I would ever seek out on my own.
Hmm. Yeah, and if I get that book to read, I'll read a novel first. I'll probably start with a novel by Willa Cather just to have an idea of her work, just to have a bit of context, not to read just about her life
That's a
without
good idea.
knowing some literary context.
The one you want to do, there's one set in Quebec, historical novel set in Quebec.
Oh,
It's actually pretty good.
I want to read it. Which one is it?
It's going to come to me in a bit,
Okay.
but yeah, it's set in like the early days of Quebec.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so let's talk about the ones that we nominated. How do you want to do? You want to just go back and forth, or
Okay. I have the list in alphabetical order of title, the way we received it.
I have mine that way too. So
Okay.
let's do it. Let's go back and forth. You and see. I'll go one, you go one. So then we'll see
Down the list. Okay.
down the list. All right.
So I voted for the very first one at the top of the list, A Day in the Life of Abed Salama.
Okay.
So it's
Wha-
about a Palestinian boy who is in a car crash on, I believe, the Israel side of the border, and it's about how his father is trying to get to the boy, is trying to get help to the boy, and apparently it's a harrowing situation. and I thought it was particularly relevant given the events.
Yeah, I saw that and I said that's going to get a lot of votes just because of
Yeah.
the timeliness of the
Yeah. Yeah.
of the.
Normally, it's something that I do for the Book 2 prize. I reserve a number of votes for books that I think should be there, whether I like them or not. Because if we just rely on strategic voting, thinking other people will vote for it, and then everybody does that, and then the book is not on the final 48, we'll look like idiots. So sometimes I do vote for books that I don't really like, but they have to be there. So, but I didn't do that much this year. I think I did that for like 2 books instead of the 5 or 10 that I do normally. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Hannah's books mentioned the Willa Cather is Shadows on the Rock.
Shadows on the Rock. Thank you.
All right, my first one was A Fever in the Heartland by Timothy Egan. It's history.
Okay.
I don't remember what the history is. That was just
my little note says Rise of the KKK in the 1920s.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay.
Whoa.
So I voted for the one above that one, the second on the list too, which is A Death in Malta, about a journalist in Malta who was killed because she was investigating corruption on the island. And that's the son, who is also a journalist, investigating the death of his mother. So I voted for a lot of books that were not set in the United States.
Okay.
Yep. That was one of the things that sometimes I think the Book 2 prize is very American. So this year there were a lot of choices for outside the United States, and I did vote for a lot of them.
That's cool.
Yep.
So my second one is also outside the United States, and I'll probably read this one if it doesn't get nominated, but Beyond the Wall by Katja Hoyer about life.
I voted for that one too. Yeah. And alphabetically, I have 2 before that I
Oh,
voted
what
for
are they?
too. A Stranger in Your Own City by Gaith Abdul Hahad. It's about Iraq, about the upheaval in the past 20, 30 years and how it's difficult to recognize your own city. And then the other is Anansi's Gold by Yipoka Yibo. It's about a con artist from Ghana who made millions out of Americans. And I read that and I thought, it sounds like a Spike Lee movie.
Yeah, the 2 that you mentioned before, the memoir, was it memoir? Hold on.
A Stranger in Your Own City?
A Stranger in Your Own City. Yeah, that got a 4 on me.
Okay.
I got interest. So it was definitely a contender. I just have History Iraq. That's mine.
Mm-hmm.
And also the gold one, Crime in Guyana, got 4. I was really tempted. Another crime book is A Thread of Violence by Mark O'Connell. That was set in Ireland.
I've read that one.
Oh.
Yeah, I did not vote for it though, but I did read it. It was very good. While I was reading it, I was very interested, but I found that after having read it, it did not necessarily stick with me. So it's good, but yeah, I decided to vote for something else.
Okay.
Okay.
So you've got a lot. You've got a lot more than I do early on. But
so far, it's 5. I'm at 5.
I'm at 3. I'm going to give you my third. Okay. Brave the Wild River by Melissa. History and Botany.
Yep. Yeah. It's a thing I noticed this year. Not many nature books. Compared to last year, there were very few nature books. So that was one of them. It was on my maybe list, but it didn't make it.
All right.
Yep. Okay, then my 6th, I'm turning the page over. It's Crossings by Ben Goldfarb. It's how roads have transformed our planet. So this is also a nature book.
Cool. Yep. Well, the next one after that for me is Emperor of Rome by Mary Beard. I've seen that already today.
Really? I voted for it too. And before that one, I voted for Doppelganger by Naomi Klein. It's one of the 2 I have to vote for it because she's Naomi Klein, and I figured she has to be there.
Really? I'm seeing which one is Doppelganger.
Yeah.
Naomi Klein. Memoir Mental Health is how I.
Oh, I have something about AI, about artificial intelligence, anti-vax, about a double who is very different.
Okay. It's interesting how I try to give I try to just narrow it down to like a 3-word description at most.
hmm
So it's interesting. So what else do we got here?
My next one is in the eye.
The eyed.
No, it starts with the letter I. So if you have anything between E and I, you can.
Okay. I have some there, but let me go. Let me catch up with you then. And I'm looking at it. So after I had to pick this one. It was called Gator Country.
Yeah.
By Rebecca Runner. It was about alligators.
Yeah, I hope it makes it in. It was in my top 30, but then I booted it out in favor of something else.
For me, alligators was just like, okay, it's in.
Yeah, it sounded really fun. Yeah.
Alligators freak me out. I don't know why, but they just freak me out.
I
That's
held
why I
one
like
in my
alligator
hands
boots.
once.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was in New Orleans and I went on a bayou tour. And
Oh, great.
at some point, the guide just opens a bucket and takes out of it a little teeny tiny alligator. And his mouth was taped, and he just passed it around, and we all took a
Yeah, so
picture
you
with the
could
teeny
feel it?
tiny alligator. Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
soft. It's amazing how soft it is. The belly, not
Oh, yeah.
the back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I
Yeah.
like alligator boots.
Yeah, I
They're
can
very
understand
soft.
why it makes good leather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so
But
let me
go
catch
on.
up. Let me catch up with your eyes. So we're getting sort of getting it. I also voted for George by Frida Hughes, which is about bird. It's like a memoir of a bird, or
Yeah, of rescuing a baby magpie.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
There's one, Humanly Possible by Sarah Blackwell. That one I just list as history.
Okay. I think I have a lot for this one. It says explores 700 years of writers, thinkers, scientists, artists trying to understand what it means to be truly human. Sounded good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my H's. So now we're in the I's. I
Yeah.
don't have an I.
Yep. I have Invitation to a Banquet. It's about Chinese food.
Yeah, I saw that, and I said I don't want. I mean, I read what's the food one last year? Eating to Extinction.
Yeah.
I said I don't want to read another food book because
Yeah, well, that one, Eating to Extinction, I'm surprised it made it so far. Each chapter was good on its own, but one after the other, after the other, after the other, I thought it was repetitive.
I kind of agree. Just he could have done one or two of them as a essay in an article and have been great. But
It probably started like that.
all right. So my next one is a K.
Me too.
Is it King by Jonathan?
It is. It is. It's the second one that I thought it has to be there.
Here's my prediction. I think King will be in the final round.
It has a good chance.
It has a good round. Although biographies sometimes don't do well.
Yeah, sometimes they do really well. I still don't understand how Sylvia Plath made it to the final 2 or 3 years ago with a huge
that
biography of 1,000 pages. And it
Red
made
Comet?
Yeah, Red Comet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I figured if that one can make the final, King can make the finals too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it an autobiography or biography about Martin Luther King?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think it's going to win some awards.
Yeah, I think it won the no, I was about to say the Pulitzer for biography, but it's not possible. It's going to be for next year.
Right.
But it did win something. I forgot. Anyway.
How many pages is it? How many pages?
Oh, King is 688 pages.
And how many pages is that Rome that Mary Beard book?
512.
But
I'd like to read that.
If you subtract all the material at the end, like the explanations, the notes, the tables, and all of that, it's just over 400 pages.
Oh, it's easy. Easy.
It's 412 pages. So
I'm going to read that.
Yeah.
Okay. So I kind of like switching this alphabetical, just going through the alphabet. So my next one is an M.
Okay, go. My next one's an R.
Oh, an R. Okay. I have Monsters by Claire Dieter. That's
I
like,
read that one. It drove me bonkers.
oh,
Huh.
it's art criticism.
It starts well, in my opinion, but then somewhere she lost me. Um, it's a book about how, as art consumers, art people who experience works of art, we are affected by the behavior of the artists.
Right.
So if we learn that they raped someone, that they murdered someone, how it affects how we see their art. So it starts very well, and I agree with her that it does affect us and it does change our point of view. But then at some point, it becomes obvious that she has a conflict of interest, and she starts the book as a member of the audience, and she finishes the book as an artist, and
Hmm.
that bothered me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I
Good
don't
point.
I don't really think that's gonna. I'm not sure that's gonna make it into the.
I think it will.
You think it will?
It received a lot of reviews on Bookmarks, on Literary Hub, LitHub. It received, I think, 30 reviews,
Hmm.
and for nonfiction, it's enormous. Normally, most books have about 10 reviews.
Okay.
So
Now, I have
think
a
it's going to
question
be
for
big.
the both of you, if I can interrupt. Aren't you considering doing like a group read about art,
Yeah,
history, or
We are doing that.
something?
yeah. It's going to be in September.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, a readathon about art. I don't
We
know.
haven't. The details aren't in yet. It's months away.
Yeah, we
Right.
still
Although,
have time to figure it out.
It's just a
although
rumor I heard. I heard somewhere.
Yeah.
it's a little bad, but my one of my prompts will be go visit an art museum.
Ah,
Yeah, experience art
Portland
in
has
a way. Yeah.
All right. So if you're up in the R's, my next is Poverty by America,
Mm-hmm.
Matthew Desmond.
Yeah.
Just
Sounded interesting. Yeah.
I just get so I just the wealth disparity in this country is just so
oh yeah,
It is. Yeah.
ridiculous.
Yeah. And my next one is the next book. It's Red Memory by Tanya Brannigan.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's another one that I've read. It's about how the Cultural Revolution is remembered in China.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember.
Wow.
I'm gonna peek up. See what did I give Red Memory by Tanya? Yeah, I gave that a 4 in my interest. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
it had a shot.
Yeah, and it won the Kundell Prize for History. So
Okay.
yeah. And then my next one is in the.
Mine are in the too. All right. So what's your first the?
My first is The Art Thief by Michael Finkel. It's another one that I've read, and it's a very short book, and it's about an art thief, as the title says, and it reads a bit like a thriller. Well, not quite like a thriller, but it reads super well, and it's super fun, and it's true crime where nobody dies and nobody gets hurt.
Isn't this the one where he stole things and got caught and then go back stealing them?
Oh, wow.
He stole stuff, a lot of stuff. He went to the museum, small museums, every weekend with his girlfriend, and every time he nicked something or
Jeez.
2 things, and he
What
brought
would
it
he
back
do?
home.
Put it under his coat, or how do you get it out?
Yeah,
I
put it
wonder.
in his coat and his backpack. Once or twice, he threw it out the window and went to pick it up.
Oh, gee.
It was in the
Committed.
1990s, before there were cameras everywhere, where monitoring
Oh, I
was
see.
expensive, and he went to small museums. And there was
Oh.
one heist. It was in the lobby in front of everyone. He just took something and left, and nobody noticed.
Wow.
Yeah.
Geez, it takes some heart. It takes some
Yeah.
cojones to do that.
Well, yeah, I think it takes some something a
Oh.
little bit crazy, because I
True,
don't
yeah,
think
like-
everything was right with this man.
No.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Yep.
So my first thought is The Best Minds by Jonathan Rosen. My
Oh.
comments: science and mental illness.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounded interesting too.
Huh.
My next is The Dictionary People by Sarah Ogilvy, about how the Oxford Dictionary, well, not necessarily how it was made, but the people who made them, who they were. It's another one that I've read. So that there were spinsters and scientists and a pornographer and vicars and all sort of things.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Now, I read The Professor and the Madman
Yeah.
by Simon Winchester about
Yeah.
a man in the mental institution who
Mhm.
was providing a lot to the OED.
Yeah. He was not the only one who was in an asylum and contributed to the Oxford Dictionary. I think there were 3 of them. The chapter on them is called lunatics because each chapter is in alphabetical order. It's so it starts with A. A is, I already forgot. It was not Americans. It was, oh, I don't remember. But for each letter of the alphabet, she chooses a word representing a type of contributor, and she talks about these contributors. So, yeah,
Mm.
it was
So
fun.
my next thought was The Great Displacement, but by
Mhm.
Jack Brittle. Science and Climate Change.
Yeah, sounded good too. My next is The Half Known Life by Pico Iyer. It's another one that I've read. I don't think that one will make it through because I don't think it's known enough. So this man, the author, is a writer, but he also is an assistant to the Dalai Lama, and he traveled with him all over the world. And for this book, he deliberately seeked out places that are considered to be a paradise by some people, or that are holy, or that have a link with heaven. So he went to a couple of places in India. He went to Jerusalem. He went to the outback in Australia. He went to a place in Japan where there's a sanctuary, in Iran, many places like that. And it was really, really good.
Wow.
Yeah. It's a bit
Wow.
of a travel book at the same time.
Yeah,
So he
that's
doesn't go there on a spiritual quest. He just looks at the place, what people
Oh,
see in
like
it, what's the whole sacred thing in it.
yeah. I know. I'm going to check what because I have it on a spreadsheet. I've hid everything
Mhm.
that I didn't vote for, but that was
what,
yeah, that got a 4.2 from me. So
The Half
what
Known
was the
Life.
title of that? What was the title of that again?
The Half Known Life.
Okay, thank you.
It comes from Melville, I think.
Great.
okay. So the next one on mine is The Lambada Plot by Stuart Reed.
Me too. I voted for that one.
The overthrowing of the government in Africa, and I said, oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah. For me, I voted for a lot of things that were not American. So
You
that was in
mentioned it.
Africa. The previous one was all over the world. Red Memory is in China. The dictionary people mainly in England. So yeah.
So you're still in the those?
Yes. Yes. And the very next one, The Marriage Question by Claire Carlyle. It's about George Eliot. So this is a book about an author by whom I've read some books. I've read 2 of her books, so I feel that I can read something about her.
Sure.
I've
Middlemarch,
read
yeah.
Yeah, I read Middlemarch.
I've read
with Greg.
Middlemarch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a group, and
Yeah.
you know, it will never make it on my top. Middlemarch would never make it on the top books for me. But
Yeah.
I just decided I just didn't want to do George Eliot.
Okay. Defensible.
Uh-huh.
The next one was a history book, The Revolutionary Temper by Robert Darnton.
It made my final 30, but not my final 20. Yeah. Say, yeah, sounded good.
It came real. I almost cut it.
Mhm.
And the reason I cut it is that it didn't have an audiobook version available.
Oh, okay.
Is that about the Revolutionary War?
It's about about France during the Revolutionary times.
Mhm.
Oh,
But there's an
interesting.
audiobook that's going to be published in March.
Oh,
So I said, you know, I'll risk it. If I get it in the first round, okay, I'll get the Kindle version, but it'll
Mhm.
be all right.
Yeah. Yeah. My next one is The Underworld by Susan Casey.
I voted for that one too.
Ooh.
They had 2 books about deep sea books in this.
Mhm.
Oh,
And I had to pick one deep sea book. So
Yeah.
Underworld.
I can't remember if Susan Casey is the same author who I read. She wrote a book about great white sharks.
Possible.
It's possible. And it's,
Possible. I don't know.
I don't, and I remember that was a really good because she got a boat to go study great white sharks, and long story short, she lost the boat.
Oops.
Buyer always, oops, I lost your expensive boat.
Oops.
Oops.
Yeah.
How do you
No.
lose a boat?
There was a big storm, and she had to tie it
Oh.
out at sea. And
Oh.
then in the morning, the
Yeah.
sea took
Gee.
the boat. And it was eventually found years later floating in the sea. But
Wow.
Yeah.
all right. The next one for my is one I think is almost certainly to be on almost everyone's list.
And it's the reason why I did not vote for it.
Oh, okay.
Um,
The Wager by David Gran.
Yep. It's another one that I've read. Very good. And I figured, well, everybody's going to vote for it, so I'm going to vote for something else.
Okay.
My next one is The Wife of Bath by Marion Turner.
Oh,
It's about Chaucer. I've never read Chaucer, but it's about, well, not
Neither.
Chaucer, but about the woman who inspired the story The Wife of Bath in the Canterbury Tales.
okay. I did not, but now I'm out of the thes after that.
Me too. My next one is in the W's.
I have a few before the W's.
Okay.
I have, let me make sure I get it. Thunderclap by Laura Cumming, History and Art.
Yeah, I read it.
You
I
read
made a
it?
video about it. Well, not so much about it. It inspired me to go to the museum, and I made a video about my visit to the museum.
Now here is my one and only memoir that I voted for.
Mhm.
It was To Name the Bigger Lie by Sarah Varon.
Mhm.
And it's I forgot. I think this one about where she was studying someone in a mental institution. Or I can't remember if that's the right one I picked out.
I have a couple of words: academia, conspiracy theory. Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. So now I have two more books, and both of them are in the W's.
Me too. Oh, I
Okay.
think we have the same because I don't think either of us voted for wifedom.
All right. So what's your first W?
What an Owl Knows by Jennifer Ackerman.
I have that one.
Yeah.
But I have one other because it's about owls. How can you not want to read a book about owls?
Yeah. Fascinating bird.
So this is set in America, so you probably didn't vote. It was Waco by Jeff Gunn.
Right. Yeah. I did not vote for that one. Yeah. Oh,
And
I hadn't seen that. There's plenty starting with W. I had seen only 3. Okay. The other one I voted for is Winnie and Nelson by Johnny Steinberg about Nelson Mandela and Winnie Mandela.
I saw that, but I had my doubts because I thought it'd just be maybe too sentimental. I don't
I
know.
don't think so. It got great reviews.
That's it. Those are my two. We actually don't have a whole lot of overlap. That I
No,
know.
I think we have like 5, maybe.
Maybe. Yeah.
Like King, What an Owl Knows, The Underworld.
I think
The
Emperor of
Lumumba
Rome.
Beyond the World, Emperor of Rome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you vote for the Lombarda plot too?
Yep.
All right. So we got a few on there.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. And I did not vote for this one. It's beautiful, but it's huge. It's huge.
It's 1,344 pages. Now, I don't know how it is with notes, if you take out all the notes.
It's all on the internet. So without the notes, it's 1,275 pages.
Yeah, that's just too long to make people read.
Oh, yeah. It's too long. I've had it since May of last year, and I'm there. So just a bit past the middle. And we've lost Alan.
Yeah, he pretty typical because his Wi-Fi. Let me catch up. We were all talking about this, and all these notes cut up, and I have not comments. Ariane, I agree. Witness memoirs can be more interesting than growing up memoirs.
Mm-hmm.
Here's Alan coming back. or maybe not coming back.
To say Babylon.
Yeah, he's back.
Oh.
March,
Sorry about
Mammoth Memoirs or Memories. Yeah, March of the Mammoth Memoir.
Memoirs. That would be
that.
something.
I will rank Barbra Streisand if I get Barbra Streisand, but I'm not really fond of her music, so it's going to be.
Well, we could be surprised. It always happens with the BookTube Prize. I receive a book that I have to read, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, that's going to be boring. And then it turns out to be super interesting.
It is. That happened to me the first year. There was a book called The Little Devil in America,
Mm-hmm.
and it was about, the black entertainment. I said,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to like that, but I really liked it, and it got like number 2 for my vote. And I was just totally shocked. And another one that shocked me was last year, The Secret City by James Kirchick.
Oh, yeah, about Washington, I think.
The gay Washington. And I thought it'd be about gay life in Washington, and I said, nope, but it was all about the politics of what it meant to be gay in Washington and how you were treated within the government. And that was really, really fascinating, I thought. So that was another surprise. So who knows?
Yeah.
I don't know if the Britney Spears will be that way, but
Never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Getting rave reviews.
It could. It could.
It could.
I know several people who like it.
I have a feeling it could make it on the list.
Mm-hmm.
MJ really liked it, and so did Floss at Great Chili Library. Loved it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's 2.
So Angelia says, I did look at length when voting for fiction. It wasn't the first criteria, but it was a factor.
Yeah, for me, I looked at the length when I eliminated from 30 to 20, and one that I voted out because of the length was Trial at Tokyo, about the trials of the Japanese war criminals, I guess, after World War II. And it sounded super interesting, but it was almost 1,000 pages. And I figured even if we remove the notes and bibliography and all of that, it's probably still going to be about 700 pages at least. And I figured I'm not going to impose that to someone who's not that interested in World War II history. So,
I don't know how Robert groups if it's all random or if he does look at, like, let's just say that the world got in.
mm-hmm.
Would he say, let's just say the world in that Tokyo book got in the same, just by accident in the first group. If you go, well, maybe I should shift one of those books to it, or just let the computer.
I think it's just the computer. I think it's just the software. He inputs the names of the books in the software, and then the software creates 8 random groups.
Yeah, you see, I was an ex-computer programmer, so I would have done it a bit different. I would have listed all the books
mm-hmm.
in order, or not order. Like, say this book is greater than 800 pages. This was between 9, and then go to the top, and then randomly. So therefore, it's dispersed. You can't accidentally get 2 huge books.
Yeah, that the first 8 books are in 8 different groups, and then the others.
Right. That's how I would. I don't know, but that's how I would have done it.
Yeah.
But I got the weird computer programming mind.
Yeah.
So here's Hannah. She mentioned, The Shadows on the Rock is the book by Willa Catherine. It's still a good book. You may want to read it someday anyway. Mm-hmm. And Hannah says, I can't wait to read A Day in the Life of Abed Slama.
All right. Sounded really good.
Angelita, I voted for some that I already read because I wanted them to be in the hunt.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've read 8 and I voted for 4 of them. 4 out of 8.
Oh, Hannah says, For George About Raising a Magpie was written by Sylvia Plath's daughter.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I think I saw that, but
Wow.
it just didn't write. I mean, honestly, she's still got to write a good book, even if she's Sylvia. I mean, it's not a good book. Doesn't help if you're her daughter.
Yeah. Get you in the door. Get you in the door.
Yeah.
I've heard great reviews of Red Comet. Yeah, everyone said Red Comet was great.
Yeah, I did read
It's
it for the
long.
BookTube prize, and I had never read Sylvia Plath before, so I started by reading The
Oh,
Bell
yeah.
Jar.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Go
then I
ahead.
read the biography.
Oh, I love her poems. Daddy. I love Lady Lazarus.
Yeah, a
Lazarus
lot of
is a
her
good poem.
poetry was in the book, in the biography,
Oh,
because they were using it a bit to, I don't know, to bring some light on her life. So how the life is in the poetry, how the poetry exposes the
yeah.
life, and yeah,
They call that
how
group of poets the confessional school. Like
okay.
Robert Lowell and Anne Sexton and John Berryman. I really like them all. I like Anne Sexton. I prefer her more than Plath.
Yeah. I
But
haven't read a lot of poetry, so yeah,
oh, you haven't.
yeah, I
All
need to
right.
try
Well,
some. I read one collection of poetry once in a while. This year I read what was it? Ducks eats yeast, quacks explodes, man loses eye.
I remember that. I said it's on my Amazon list.
Yeah,
Someday it's going to be on sale on Amazon. I'm just going to buy it.
yeah, yeah.
I've not heard of that one.
It's a Canadian book of poetry. It came out in 2023, and it's two poets. They start from this story that is in a newspaper in 1910, 12. I don't remember when, like 100 years ago. And they start from that little snippet of news, and they start to, I don't know, not improvise, but write poetry on that, and they exchange on that. And you don't really know who writes what. You just know that there are two poets in there, and it just moves along, and at the end you're somewhere else, and it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
And can you say the name again? The
duck
title?
duck eats yeast,
Okay.
quack.
Okay, that's not too hard to remember.
It's just the half the thing. Duck eats yeast, quacks,
Quack.
explodes, man loses eye.
Okay, I'll find it for sure. Thanks.
If you don't, I have it. I have it on my Amazon list. I'll forward it to you. So Hannah, the George Eliot book is quite interesting.
Yeah, that's the marriage question. It sounded good.
Yeah.
I think it's going to make it in.
You think it's going to make it in?
I think so. Yeah.
The Wife of Bath would have been one of my very top choices. I loved it, as did my spouse.
I still haven't read the Canterbury Tales, so I figured if I have to read that book, I'm going to read the Canterbury Tales. At least that one. At least.
Well, I'm
Greg's
trying
reading
to
that.
read the Canterbury Tales this year, or reread it, because
Yeah.
I've read selections,
Mm-hmm.
and my idea was to listen to the modern English translation on audio,
Mm-hmm.
and then read the Middle English.
Yeah.
Because he is readable if you know English. It just takes a little
French
bit.
helps too.
It does?
You just can't normally read it like a normal book. You got to think about.
Yeah. Well, some of the words that he uses, I've just read a few excerpts, and some of the words he uses, and there was some sort of a translation, and they give the English translation. I'm thinking, well, in French, it's still the same word.
Well, that might be very easy for you then. Yeah.
Well, just once in a while. Once an old English word, and then French is of no help. If it's a word from Saxon or from, I don't know, some Germanic language, French is of no use.
I remember from I think it's from the program, the prologue, where in the middle he describes someone's face as sauce flame.
Sauce flame.
Well, would I
Like
tell
a sauce?
Would I tell you what it is? It sort of makes sense.
Yeah.
It's pimply.
Oh. Yeah, like
Sauce
little
flame. Maybe, I don't know.
maybe like a lumpy sauce.
I just thought it's just amusing to read. I mean, and I looked it up on the internet. That's the only time I think that word's ever been used anywhere.
Yeah.
Angelia. No, that's not. I'm sorry, not Angelia. This is reading is like breathing. Angelia is the one that says I'm interested in the one about Elliot. Reading is like breathing. I read What an Owl Knows. Loved it.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian, you guys put a lot more thought into your choices than I did. I didn't put all that much thought. Mine was just a gut reaction. Just read the description on Amazon and give it that number ranking on how interested I am, because I could spend all my time going through reviews and tearing what little bit of hair I have out trying to figure out which is going to be the only not to have someone vote for something else,
Yeah.
Well, I was just thinking about Brian because we were talking about Red Comet, and I remember him reading or reviewing that. I have to read that. I want to get that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's on sale now.
Could be. It's a number of. Here's something over my corner. I think it's just a cat. Hannah says, I love Anne Sexton's retelling of fairy tales.
Oh, I've not read that one, Hannah.
I have a collection of Anne Sexton on my Kindle. I think it's the complete poems. Not positive. Angelia, I must depart. Have a good evening. Goodbye, Angelia. And you wrote
Thanks
that
for us
907.
stopping by.
And it's only 907. Wow.
Oh,
I'm relatively on schedule with my comments.
Yeah, you are. That's good.
Okay, so let's see about the book too. What are your predictions on the nominee? We already predicted a few. I'm going to go back to my go in and let's see if we can come up with some ideas of what we think will actually be on there. I mean, like you said, I really think Britney Spears is going to make it.
I don't know. I think Streisand has a better chance than Britney Spears.
You don't think it's going to be both?
It could be both. It could be both. Yeah. I think, well, obviously King is going to make it.
Yeah, King is definitely going to be on there.
And The Wager is going to be on there.
Definitely.
I'm pretty sure Monsters by Claire Diderot will make it also.
Okay.
Yeah. The Mary Beard, The Emperor of Rome, will make it in. I think Naomi Klein will make it in. One that we did not mention is she might get in on the name of the author more than the book. It is A Memoir of My Former Self by Hilary Mantel.
Yeah, I did not vote for that. I did not give it a high interest, right? I mean,
but it's her last book, in a way. It is a collection of writings that she did for various newspapers and journals. So it was not thought of as a book. It's a collection of different writings. But I think because she's Hilary Mantel,
it's possible.
It has a good chance. And there's also A Man of Two Faces by Viet Thanh Nguyen. I think he won, is it the Pulitzer?
For the Sympathize. That was one of the last ones that I cut.
Yeah. So I think that one will make it in also. Because it's a memoir. A lot of BookTube Prize readers love memoirs. He's a famous author, and I think that can factor in. There were 96 books on the list, so exactly half of them will make it through. So it has a 50% chance of making it.
Can I interrupt and ask a question about a book?
Sure.
Yep.
Okay, mark where you're at, your place. Because you've mentioned The Wager several times, and Elisabeth, you said you liked it, but you didn't vote for it because you knew people would vote for it. Now, I've not read it, but you recommend it, though. I take it.
Yeah, it's a good book. It's the story of a ship called the Wager that was part of a convoy. They were it belonged to England. They were supposed to attack some Spanish ships in the Pacific, and somehow there were issues when they rounded the Cape of Horn, and they ended up on a desert, freakishly cold
Oh.
island in Patagonia, and they tried to
Where,
survive.
where does the wager come in? That was the name of the ship.
It's the name of the ship.
Name of
It's
the
the
ship.
name of
I
the ship
see.
that sank. Yeah.
Ah.
And
Okay, I'll check it
then
out.
if we know the story, it's because a ship arrived in Brazil, because they were looking for a coast that did not belong to Spain. They managed to make it to Brazil, and they say, "We are the survivors of the wager. We courageously faced adversity and all of that." And then a few weeks later, there is another boat that is found. I think this one in Chile, and they say, "We are the officers survivors of the wager," and there was a mutiny.
Yeah.
So, yep,
Ah.
it
Intriguing.
very intriguing. Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep, and it made the rounds on BookTube. Mark from Book Time with Elvis read it. I think Sean D. Standfast read it. I think.
I'm always the last to know anything. I swear to God. It's uncanny.
Yeah,
But
it got a lot of really positive reviews, and,
Yep.
and that made me pick up the book. Because that's the one book on this list that I already own.
Mhm.
That I definitely want to read. So what's going to happen is it's going to make it on the list, and I'm not going to be assigned that book.
It always happens.
it's funny.
It's really interesting too when I get these. Like, I usually rank like, okay, how many of my top 20 made it onto the list?
Mhm.
And then I go through and say how many of my list are these groups, in the groups, and I usually have one, maybe two, that actually voted for.
Mhm.
But it usually, like I said, it's just random. It's like you're getting someone else's pick.
Yeah. Last year I got super lucky. I got 4 of the books that I voted for in my first round group.
That's
4
pretty
out of
good.
6.
Have you
That
read them
was-
already?
No, I had read none of them. But
Oh.
yeah, I
Well,
got
that's a good
4 of
thing.
them that I voted for. It was great. And one of them was an immense world that ended up winning the entire thing. So
Yes.
Yep. Yep.
So do you have a top book that you really want to read out of these, or a top few? I would say.
that I haven't read yet and that I really want to read. Well, there's Emperor of Rome. Obviously, I'm halfway through. Um, 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 I would say the 2 literary ones, The Wife of Bath and The Marriage Question. I don't know. I'm in a bookish mode. I hope I'm going to get those.
Yep, I have a couple that I voted like a 5 on interest.
Mhm.
I have Beyond the Wall, which is about East Germany, and
Yeah.
there's something about my psyche that just I really want to read
Yeah.
more about that because it's just a very interesting time. And I just,
Yeah, you like the Cold War. You like the Cold War and the
I
espionage.
do like the Cold War. We were reading John le Carré about, escaping
Checkpoint Charlie. Checkpoint Charlie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Of course, Emperor of Rome is a
Mhm.
top.
Mhm.
I also put the one about alligators. I really want to read about alligators.
Yeah, I regret now not voting for it, but yeah. Hopefully, other people will vote for it.
And the Lambada plot. I remember Brian of Bookish reviewed that. I said, okay, that's one that I want to pick up.
Yeah, it sounds very good. Yeah. Are there any books that you voted for that you think will not make it? That you think
A
I'm the only
lot.
one voting for that?
Yeah, let me go through and sort my spreadsheet. Nomination. I don't know about you. You think the Gator Country may make it? Maybe.
Gator Country.
I know some of mine won't make it. But the top
On average, I get 14 or 15. So it means that on average, 5 of the ones I voted for should not make it.
Yeah, I usually get 11, maybe 12. I know it's hard to say. I mean, the thunderclap on art. I don't think that's going to make it. But I also picked it because I know we're going to be doing our art in September, and I wanted to read at least vote for a couple art books in this.
Yeah, to put you in the mood.
Me in the mood, yeah.
Yeah.
And the one on the KKK by Timothy Egan, I think that's going to be a little too tough for some people to pick.
Perhaps. Yeah.
Even though it's part of the American history that draws me in because it's sort of dark and disturbing and sort of up my alley.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like reading about the South, and it appeared KKK's all throughout Faulkner, of course, but
Mm.
yeah, it's hard to read about.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think the one about the French Revolution will not make it either.
You don't think it's just too specific for most people?
I think so. There were a lot of history books this year, but perhaps the vote will be spread out, and people who don't like history will just vote for none of them. So,
It could. I mean, I'm just gazing at my one word summaries. I have 1, 2, 3, 10 of my books have history listed as in my comments. So
yeah.
I guess I sort of like history.
Hmm.
I only have one memoir on the list.
Yeah. I don't think I have. Well, I have the Naomi Klein, which is kind of a memoir. So
Okay.
yeah, I think that's my only memoir there.
And what about the half-known life you guys talked about?
Yeah, that one I don't think it's going to make it because it's not known enough. It's
Which is the half note? Which one are you talking about?
the half-known life. It's about the help of the Dalai Lama who travels
Oh,
to
the by ear. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah,
think.
I want to read that.
Yeah.
Well,
It's not very long. It's about 200 pages. It
Oh,
reads really, really well.
What's it called again? I can tell you it was
The Half-Known Life
Half Known Life. Yeah. Oh,
by Pico Iyer.
yeah. Half Known Life by Pico Hire. 240 pages.
Hmm.
So you just breeze through it if it gets selected.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, they were small pages. It was not like there's there's more and more books that get published in hardcover, but they are the size of a paperback. They are smaller in size, and that's one of those. And same thing for The Art Thief.
Yeah.
It's a small book, like in size. It's not the same.
Right.
Like I don't know.
I know
it
what you
would
mean.
be. So there's Mary Beard, which is a regular size, and then I have this, which is a paperback, and there's this in hardcover, and that's the size of the books. So The Art Thief is that size, and The Half Known Life is that size too. It's paperback size, but in hardcover. So
Yeah.
it's a short 240 pages.
I know. I'm just looking at I was just looking at all these books that are memoirs. Now, there was one book that I actually wanted to vote for called Molly by Blake Butler. It was a memoir about the author Blake, whose wife, I think she committed suicide.
Okay.
But I looked at it. It did not have a Kindle version.
Mhm.
Did not have an audio version, and Amazon was out of stock on the paperback.
Yeah.
And then I went thrift books. It says back ordered 9 months or something like that. I almost emailed Robert saying, I don't think people can get this book.
Yeah. I said earlier, I think I cracked the code of how the books get on the initial list.
Oh, tell us.
Please tell.
So as I said, to research the books, I went on the bookmark section of LitHub, which is a kind of Rotten Tomatoes for books.
Mhm.
And for each one, I wrote how many rave reviews, how many positive reviews, mixed and pans they had. And then I checked for 2 books that were not on the list. So the pattern matches for both what is on the list and what is not on the list.
Oh,
So they all have at least 5 rave reviews.
okay. That's it.
That's it. That's what they have in common. They have at least 5 rave reviews on LitHub.
What about pans? Does a pan subtract?
Nope. It doesn't matter whether they have pens or positives, or they could have an average rating of positive or just mixed. But if they have at least 5 rave reviews, they're in.
So,
And that left out the winner of the Bailey Gifford Prize of nonfiction, and that left out the winner of the National Book Award for nonfiction too,
oh,
because they did
Geez.
not have 5 rave reviews.
so how many rave reviews did Spare get?
It was not on the list. I checked, and I think there was none, or maybe no. I think there was none.
Poor Harry.
Yeah,
I
it
feel
did
for
not
him.
get great reviews, and that's the reason why. Well, one of the reasons why Britney Spears and Barbara Streisand and Pamela Anderson make it on the list. It's because they get a lot of reviews, so it's easier for these books to get at least 5 good reviews than for
No.
more university presses books or more specialized books that do not get a lot of reviews in and they are not the reviews from specialized newspapers. They're from general public newspapers. It
Now,
could be the New York
Elizabeth,
Review of Books, or yeah.
did you say you like Pamela Anderson's memoir?
I didn't read it.
Oh, I
No,
thought
no.
you had read it. Oh,
No. It got reviewed a lot, and at least 5 people made a rave review about it, so that's why it's on the list.
See,
yeah.
I did not go to LitHub, but maybe that's
I
something.
think that's the reason, because the winner of the Bailey Gifford is Fire Weather by John Valiant, and it sounded super interesting. It won the Bailey Gifford. It was a finalist for the National Book Award. It was also a finalist for a nonfiction award in Canada. So I thought, okay, that's one book that makes it to at least 2 very important lists. It must be there. And then I see on the list that it's not there, and I'm almost writing to Robert, what's wrong? Why is Fire Weather not on the list? And then I go check that on LitHub, and I see that it got only 2 rave reviews and 3 positive reviews,
No.
something like that. And I thought, oh, that must be
5.
it.
5.
It needs 5 rave reviews to be there, so it got just 2 rave.
Good deduction. That's
Yeah.
good detective work, Elizabeth.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
And the one that won the National Book Award, it did not get 5 reviews total. I think it got only 3 or 4 reviews in newspapers and publications. So it had no chance.
So yeah, okay. I should maybe go back and look at fiction
Yep.
and just test your theory.
Perhaps for fiction the threshold is higher because fiction books are more reviewed. So perhaps there would be too many books with just 5. Perhaps it's 6 or 7.
Well, I can go through and count up the rave reviews and put it on my spreadsheet and
Yeah.
see how that comes out.
Yeah.
So Gareth said he studied East Germany in my degree, and it's fascinating. The Wager has been on the New York Times bestseller list for 36 weeks. As of last week, it's number 1. Well,
No wonder I haven't heard about it.
maybe people will vote. I'm not voting for that because it's guaranteed to win, like you did.
I don't know if it's guaranteed to win, but I think it's guaranteed to make it
Guaranteed
in.
to get on. Guaranteed to get on. And maybe enough people say no, and then it won't get on.
Perhaps.
Everyone's
It
saying,
could.
but that's all right.
Yeah.
God, I got to get my head out of War and Peace and come up for air and see what's being read. Read some new stuff, Jeez.
Well, the book 2 prize is how I get my more modern books in, my newer books, because if it's up to me just reading on my own, I don't read a lot of new stuff, either in fiction or nonfiction. But
Well, I go to the library a lot, and they have like new releases, and they used to have a lucky day where you could get 2 new releases for like 2 weeks, and that's where I would get my like new recommendations from. But I've written down quite a few books, tonight.
Excellent.
Just listening to your both of your recommendations, and
Yeah.
so I'm going to be
Yep.
busy on Amazon and thrift books and eBay tonight.
Or the
You-
library.
or the light. See,
Yeah.
when I do mine, I almost always do the audiobook version for the book two prize. It's just make it consistent. Although I do try to get the physical book out of the library if possible, just so I can hold it up and look at the pictures and photographs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, in nonfiction, I think it helps if there's a map or something. Yeah.
But
Well, I use the Libby app a lot, talking about audiobooks. So I'll go through the Libby search.
Mhm.
Yeah, but go ahead, Greg. I think I
I
interrupted.
was about to say, because I did that because the last audiobook I finished was the Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs. I actually have that right here. I have it on audio, but
I thought you had a dinosaur right there.
I wanted to look at the pictures of the dinosaurs because it's a book about dinosaurs, and there's actually very few illustrations of dinosaurs in here. And I'm going like, you get a few, like Stegosaurus and stuff like that. But
Dinosaurs.
I was a little disappointed that they didn't put more effort into the illustrations in that book. But you got a lot of photographs of the people digging up the fossils, and I'm like, okay, I don't think that really would change my opinion of the book very much.
I have a question, just apropos to dinosaurs, I guess. But where in DC, what museum do they keep like the bones in?
The National
Of all the
History
dinosaurs.
Museum.
We have to go check that out next time. That'd be cool.
Yeah. It is. I mean, it's pretty good. Oh, here's Garrett. I'm reading at the moment, Greg, the dinosaur book. Really well written. I agree, but it's also not scientifically written. I mean, it's not a book written for scientists or paleontologists. It's written for average people who want to learn about dinosaurs. So all the people in the field will look at it and go, "This is just way too simple." And his writing style is not very complex. You read some of these nonfiction books. Okay, you really need a college degree to get through some of this.
Yeah, I imagine.
What was the one that I really hated last? Is Blood and Ruins. I forgot who. The one on World War II. Like a huge one. And he was one of the people who didn't introduce the main people during World War II. He's talking about Rommel, and he said something about Rommel. I said, okay, you just introduced a major figure in history, but didn't say who he was.
Now I remember you
kind of
talking
assuming
about
everybody knew.
Right. He did. He really came up. Well, it was 1,000 pages, and if he were to describe everyone in World War II, that would add a few hundred pages. So, but I knew some of them. Some of them I don't, because I'm not a student of World War II. And that book really assumed you
like
were.
Rommel, I know, was in Egypt, right? Rommel was in Egypt and
tank commander, tank general
in North Africa. Yeah.
North Africa.
Yeah, and then eventually northern France. He built the Atlantic Wall, and then he was forced to commit suicide because he was in the part of the putsch against Hitler. So I forgot the name of this particular plot, but
I don't remember.
He was forced to commit suicide. Tom Cruise made a movie about it. That's all that I know.
Last to know, I'm the last to know.
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the movie was called the Valkyries. Well, the Valkyries, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But also that year, they had a very good one that I liked was the Half Americans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I thought that was really good because he was very focused. I mean, his concentration on World War was focused.
Yeah.
And you could get the detail and the feel of what he was talking about. And when you're talking about World War II, that's such a huge, I mean, you really can't fit that into one book.
No, you have to choose one aspect of it and go for that one.
Yep.
Yeah. It's I studied history in university, and my teacher about that 20th century and the World Wars, and specialized in German history, he invited us not to study World War II because he said that was in the 1990s, and he said there has been more book written about Hitler and the Third Reich than there has been about Jesus.
Oh,
Okay.
wow. Oh,
So in 50
sounds like
years
something
there had
John Lennon
been
would say.
in 50 years there had been more written about World War II than there had been written about Jesus in 2000 years. So
Well, in
A
some
lot of
ways it
history
makes
buffs.
sense. I mean, especially during that time period, you had people who lived through it, and you really needed to talk to them because they were getting older.
yeah, nowadays
Right.
we are
Yeah.
getting the very last witnesses.
Yes.
People
Yes,
who were
yes.
children at the time are now in their 90s.
Yeah, it's just so
Yeah,
that made total sense that they wouldn't just write it all then.
yeah.
Oh, here's Gareth again. I missed this one. Love the idea of the art-based book event. I'm really
Yeah,
looking.
me too.
I'm looking forward to that. Now, before we start, do you think we've covered the book 2 prize pretty efficient?
I think so.
I think. All right, let's go on. Let's move
Change the
on.
topic after an hour and a half.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't know why, but I love wandering art museums and just looking at everything. And I wish I lived
Yeah,
in an area where there was some
yeah.
closer to me.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm getting an echo every time Greg talks.
I think it's Alan. Hold on, Alan. I'm just gonna mute you for just 1 second.
So is me.
Okay, is that gone away?
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
Okay, hold on.
Is it me?
All right. Well, let me. I'm just going to mute you temporarily. See if it's you. Okay, Alan. We hear the background. Oh, I've muted everyone but myself. Alan. No.
No, don't hear it.
No, I heard it.
No, I'm good.
So maybe it's me. I'm going to mute myself.
Given that it's only when you talk, of course, I'm not going to hear it.
Right.
I said that, but I heard myself.
Huh?
Yep. I don't know what it is. It's not one of us.
Oh, maybe it's you.
It's probably me. My
be
Wi-Fi did not come today, Greg, because it's MLK Day. So I'm working on my phone right now. So I should get the Wi-Fi box tomorrow.
Cool.
Yeah.
So let's talk about an art event. That's. I mean, we've only talked briefly on Boxer, so.
Yeah, Portland has a good art museum. I haven't been through all of it, so I'm looking forward to going back to it. I used to live right by it, Greg. When you guys visited, we could have walked to the art museum from my old place. You know, so but it's a bus ride and a train ride for me to go. But I'll spend the day there for sure. Now, Toledo, Ohio had a great art museum. You'd be surprised.
Yeah. The question is, how much does it cost? In Europe, almost all the museums are free, or at least the permanent collection. Sometimes there's a special exhibition that's going to be, you'll have to pay. But generally, the general collection tends to be free, except in the biggest museums like the Louvre or I don't know which ones, but there are many that are free. But I don't know about you, but in Canada, you always have to pay.
The Smithsonian museums are all free in Washington, D.C.
You have the Smithsonian in Washington.
They're considered national treasures. And they say you don't charge people to see a national treasure. And of course, you have to have it tax supported and all that. But it's really nice because I said, if I lived a little bit closer, what would be really nice is just to go to the museum and just sit in one of the rooms and just really, because if you look at a piece of art long enough, you start seeing the details that you would not normally see
Yeah.
just walking through it. And one of the ones I wanted to do, I did this with Alan. I got the idea was I was walking with Alan and Hannah. Is
Yeah,
that
when we saw National Art Museum,
national art?
I still have the flyer. Yeah.
That a lot of the pictures, especially from like the Renaissance area, have dogs in them. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be interesting just to find all the dogs and all these artworks, and just make a list of them? And
Yeah, sure. For a book or a thesis?
you know, I can't hear Elisabeth. She took off her.
Yeah, she's muted.
Now, am I unmuted?
Yeah,
Yes.
now I can hear you.
I was wondering if it was my microphone that was picking up both the sound from there and anyway. So no, apparently not.
It's something that just started recently.
Yeah. So the last time I went to the museum, I said I have to pay. It's free for like 3 hours per week on Thursday evening. So I went on a Thursday evening, and I went to look at just the Dutch art that was mentioned in the book that I had just read, which was Thunderclap. And I decided to look at just the Dutch art and the paintings of fruits and vegetables and how do they call it? In French, it's nature morte.
Still life?
Still life. That's it. Still life. So I just looked at those because I figured I don't have to go through every room of the museum. I can focus on just a few paintings. So for about an hour, I just looked at a handful of paintings, like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I
You
just
see
went
me,
from one to the other, focused on the details. And on a simple bowl of fruit, I suddenly found a bunch of flies and a butterfly and this and that. And all sorts
yes.
of details. Yeah. And it,
I like
you said,
Cézanne.
much more interesting.
There's so much detail in some of those older paintings. It's like I would just love to be able to. Now the problem is I have to get. Well, I could drive, but taking the train and all that.
Back to DC. Yeah, I like Cézanne. Still life.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a couple that I really like because, like, the table will be here on one side, but then it will be on a different angle. Well, let me do this. I can't even do it right. It will be on a different angle. You know what I mean? The fruit will be in the middle, and the table will be off center.
It's going to change perspective, like the table.
Right.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah, Cézanne was a great friend of the author Zola. Yeah, and there was a book I think you read it, Greg, that book that Zola wrote about a painter. In French, it's the work, I don't know what the title is in English. The painting, the work of art.
Which book? I mean,
it's by Zola. Zola. And it's perhaps I'm mistaken. Perhaps it's not you who read it.
No, I have not read any. I've always been wanted to read Zola, and I have not yet.
Yeah.
There's 2 books by Zola. His famous is Germinal.
Yeah.
And the other one is Bête Noire, I think.
Okay. Yeah. In French, it's The Human Beast.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah, it's about the railway tracks, and there's a serial killer in there.
Yeah. So that's one of the ones. Those are the 2. And the problem is, I bought like a Kindle edition, like for 99 cents, complete works of Zola in English, but I don't really trust those old translations that much.
Yeah, and the thing, I don't think Zola has been translated since.
He hasn't?
I don't think so. Maybe some of them have a newer translation, but for some reason he's not translated very much in English. He's less popular than Balzac.
But he's very popular. Was very popular. I don't know if he can still considered that popular in France.
Oh yes. He's taught in schools more, I think, than Balzac.
They tend to be grouped together. They are not exact contemporaries. Balzac's a bit older, but because both of them wrote like big cycles of novels that are related in some way, they are often considered like they are going together, or they are opposed to one another in a way. And I think Zola is taught more at school. I think there's a short one that he wrote, Thérèse Raquin, that is very often given as mandatory reading. I haven't read that one though.
Okay, so if we want to do this art day, how would we get? Let's banter around some possible prompts.
Yeah.
I
have thought of two possibilities. Either we go for regular prompts, like read a book about this, read a book like this or that, or we go for more general prompts, like read a fiction, read a nonfiction, go to an art exhibit, and we put some sort of general theme on that. Like, I don't know, what is art?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like that general idea. I think it makes people more interested. That you can just take, like you said, read a biography of an artist, or read just a book about the paintings or with the pictures that you look through,
Yeah.
and then read something fictional about an artist. It could be a real artist, or
like Vonnegut's Bluebeard.
Yeah, that would work.
That's about abstract expressionism in New York City.
Yeah. And I was thinking not just visual arts, it could be music too. It could be musicians, could be architecture, dance.
That is a good expansion, because
Yeah, that would expand.
may not be interested in the visual art, but read a book, musicians,
Yeah.
architecture. But I have this one that I've been. This is like Egon. No, he's German. Schnelli or whatever. He was a real artist, but this is a novel of his life.
Yeah.
And I've been toting around this book since the 90s, so it's like about time to read it. Somerset Maugham did a novel. Now, in the novel, it was not Gauguin. It was a fictionalized version of Gauguin, which is actually what I think is pretty good.
Yeah.
I love reading about Da Vinci.
Yeah.
That would work.
He's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
But not the Da Vinci Code.
He's not
I like Dan Brown as well. I've read all that. I like Angels and Demons the best, but no, I like Da Vinci's life and just how he wrote. He could write. He was ambidextrous. He could write backwards and upside down. Just crazy genius.
Yeah.
So that's good. So if we had to say, like read some nonfiction, read some fiction, and go to an art event or a cultural event,
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
And then make a vlog on
If you're allowed.
it. Yes.
Yeah.
If you're so inclined.
Yeah,
That'd be cool.
Because I guess some museums don't let you take pictures of them.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Or some allow pictures, but not videos.
Or not
if it's a
flash
music
and all that.
performance, you can never film or take pictures. If it's a play,
True.
you don't do that. Yeah.
I'll sneak. I'll be like the art thief.
Yeah. Just put it in your
I'll be
pocket.
undercover sneaking video. Get that vlog for BookTube,
Yeah. I don't think it's
Gotta do-
enforceable anymore to tell people do not film, do not take pictures. Unless they have a guard in every room bothering everyone to say, no, don't do
We
that.
can
don't
take
do it,
pictures.
don't-
Yeah, we took pictures in DC. I did.
In the Smithsonian, I don't think it's an issue.
No.
Now, what may be an issue is if that you wanted to do a video of you standing in front of the artwork talking about it. That could be an issue because you'd be interrupting other people's experience.
Yeah. I think
Yeah, you can't just take over and go, yeah, hey.
Yeah, and I think they also say like no tripods or no selfie sticks, like because you could damage, like turning around, you could bump into someone or damage something if you're
Could
not.
you imagine? Oh,
Yeah.
Well, it was interesting that my wife and I visited the Philadelphia Museum, last 2 months ago, and I noticed if you look at the art, there is a clear coating of like plexiglass in front of the art,
Oh.
huh.
and it makes total sense because at least in Europe, someone was protesting, and they threw
Yeah.
paint
Yeah.
on the art, and so
Yeah, the stop oil movement, and they are attacking oil paintings.
they have. I mean, it's not really noticeable
Mhm.
unless you get up and look at it, but
Yeah. There is a glass in front of the Mona Lisa.
Oh
I
yeah.
thought it was like behind like really really well protected.
Yeah, and you cannot really get close to it. It's also behind a ring of, I don't know, of something.
Well, it's the world that we live in, and so Gareth, I totally agree. Though Elizabeth, I avoid World War II so much overloads. Yeah, with the period and the subject.
Yeah.
It was wonderful to have access to so many free libraries,
Museums.
museums. We could go out for 20 minutes and not be out $20 or whatever.
Yeah.
I agree because my wife and I went to the Philadelphia, and we had to pay $30 to get in,
Mhm.
but we had a train to catch.
Yeah.
And what's really nice is like you buy a ticket out there, it's good for 2 days. Which is, it's the museum understand, like you cannot see that whole museum in one day.
Yeah. Yeah. The last museum I visited was the Metropolitan Museum in New York. And locals don't pay, I think, and foreigners we do pay, which I think is a totally fair system. Like, I think every museum should do that. And it was expensive, but at the same time, it was a huge museum. I spent the entire day there, and it was valid for 2 or 3 days and more than one location. It also included the cloisters and maybe something else. Anyway, it was worth it. It was absolutely worth it.
Well, it was worth it, even though we only got to stay like 4 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess their collection is not as good as like the Smithsonian, but it was still.
Yeah.
And what one of my favorite things we went through, and we weren't going to see it, is they had medieval art.
Yeah.
And they actually did the exhibit area to make it look like you were in a medieval room. And I'm going like, dang, these are dank rooms, and
Yeah.
but still, it was like, wow. And again, he wasn't ready for much more than the amount of time sometimes. I think I would look for a book on Bruegel or Bosch. Yeah. Zap has read The Wager.
Yeah.
The Art Month
Oh, hey,
sounds
Zap.
so much fun. I think that could be a popular event.
Yeah.
Yeah, September.
Yeah. September.
Especially if you encourage people to get out and show us what you can legally, what you
Yeah.
saw.
Take a picture of the program.
Or if you went to a concert,
Yeah.
Now I know at least in Fredericksburg, during the summer they have monthly free concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a free concert, so you just show up at so that you could film.
Probably.
And the thing is, a lot of them are local musicians or semi-local, so they're like, yeah, give us some love on the internet and get us known.
Yeah.
So what else on art? On art
Yeah, I
month?
think it'd be a great way for booktubers to like highlight their cities too, like where they live, and that'll be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even people who think there's nothing in their city, well, unless it's really super, super small, but most cities will have at least a little something.
They do.
Least a statue in a park. Well, it's a sculpture.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly.
that could be. I mean, this is fascinating. Like, I mean, there are a couple people on BookTube who live out in very rural areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then
Taught
visit
the right
one
word
on the
for one.
internet. Some museums have open doors on the internet. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it'd be good.
yeah, but it's still far away. So we'll still have time to fine tune the idea.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a great idea. It's kind of unique when you think about it. It's different than other booktube events.
Yeah, it's not
'Cause
covered
you
by
can take
anything
it,
else.
You can take it outside the box.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could try the prompt also do some art.
Ah,
Yeah, well, here's Ariane who made a comment that's good. If your town and city doesn't have an art museum, find a gallery.
Yeah.
Now, a gallery may be open to filming, and especially if it's for sale.
Yeah, they'll want to put it out
There you
there.
go.
Yeah.
we have some galleries in my neighborhood. I can
Now,
go across the street and do it.
before I say that, is I actually have a work of art on my wall that you can see it in some of my videos by an artist named Ann Katie, and she does not like her work displayed on the internet.
Oh,
I mean, you'll see it for sale, but there are no reproductions of any of her artwork that she does not allow.
no
Like-
prints or anything, huh?
Nope. So if you bought it, you're the sole owner of that picture.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting because I know a few artists and they all do prints. You know, they kind of have to do it to stay alive.
Well, you know,
make money.
this was one of those works of art that you go, okay, this is kind of expensive, but you know,
Wow.
If you love it, it's worth it.
well, if you look at some of my videos, you'll see it in the background, and you can decide whether.
Then Greg, you have that other painting that I guessed. I want to pat myself on the back. It was like a reproduction, but it really excellent reproduction of a Monet, was it?
Oh yes, oh no, that was an interesting one. My mother-in-law bought a couple of those. Is where there's this company, and I believe all the students are Chinese, where they're being taught how to paint, and you get a student's reproduction of a famous work of art.
Oh.
Yeah, that's interesting, huh?
It is hand painted, and it's to teach them how to do art. So instead of Monet, it's some name that I can't pronounce in Chinese.
It's Liu Chang.
Right.
I
Yeah,
saw a
but Liu Chang.
documentary about art fraud, about a massive fraud that happened in New York about art forgery. And it was a Chinese artist who made all of these paintings that were supposedly Rothko's and Pollocks
Ah,
and other mid-century Americans, or any artist, in fact. And they sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars. And then it was realized that it was all a forgery. And
wow.
it's a fascinating documentary.
Well, Alan and I read this, I guess it's last year now, last January, the Recognitions by William Gaddis,
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
which is all about forging art.
Forgeries.
And according to this book, and I'm going to say because I don't know the real legal definition, if you paint a reproduction of a famous work of art, it's not art forgery.
It is not.
Until you sign a copy of the artist's signature. And then it's forgery.
And then again, if you say that I think there's even another level. If you have to convince someone that it's an original, That there has to be a lie about it. If you say it's a reproduction, I made it myself, it was made in 2023, it is not a Van Gogh or something like that. Even if the name Van Gogh is there or Vincent is there,
This
it's
is
not forgery because you were honest about it.
this is John Doe's reproduction of Van Gogh.
Exactly. Doesn't
Then I
count.
guess it's not. You're up front. It's not a forgery, but it's when you sign it and say this is Van Gogh's work.
Yeah. Then it becomes a forgery. And apparently there are forgeries in every museum in the world. Apparently there are truckloads, and the most pessimistic people think it might be up to 50% of what we have in museums.
Oh my!
Really?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and many do not want to test because nowadays you can test for pigments that did not exist at the time, or do spectrometer or various tests to see if a painting is from that time or another time. And apparently many museums don't want to do that because they don't want to know.
So where are the originals then? Is the big question.
I mentioned Van Gogh. There's a Van Gogh in Japan. I think it's in Tokyo. It's a bank that bought it. And they used to have a Van Gogh and it was destroyed. Oh, it's not in Tokyo. It's in Hiroshima. It was destroyed by the atomic bomb. So when there was a sunflower of Van Gogh that was for sale, they decided to buy it. And there are very, very strong suspicions that it's a forgery that was made shortly after Van Gogh's death by his agent. But nobody wants to know. Because politically, it would be horrible to say to Japan, you've just spent millions of dollars to buy a painting to replace one that was destroyed by the atomic bomb. And now we're telling you that it's a forgery. So nobody wants to know.
Wow. That's really interesting and complex.
Yeah.
Wow, to think about that. What a quandary.
Yeah, but the question is, does it matter that much? If it's a Van Gogh when we see it, if we feel like it's a Van Gogh, does it matter whether it's a Van Gogh or not? Is it just for the money that it's important? Is it for the art value?
Well,
aesthetics.
Well, part of it is that I visited a Van Gogh, whatever they call the display or whatever, in San Francisco a number of years ago, and they had Starry Night. I mean, that's I guess is the most famous. And you look and say, wow, I'm looking at the canvas that he actually painted.
Yeah.
That is something, it's like, okay, this is real. This is not something you pick out because I got bookmarks with, Starry Night. It's not the same thing.
No. Yeah. But yeah, I guess we could argue all night. There's also the in modern art, like for example, Jeff Koons, who made these giant, massive sculptures, like in the form of balloon dogs. And there was an orange balloon.
Yeah, like Mickey Mouse, he did.
Yeah. He does not do anything with. It's factory made. He does not sculpt anything. It's not with his own hands. So it's made by a bunch of assistants.
Enormous.
Yeah, so he gets an idea, but he doesn't execute the work. That's someone else. So in that sense, could there be a forgery of a Jeff Koons because he does not make them himself?
I want that gig. I want that job. Like I get an idea. I get an idea and somebody.
Yeah, somebody else makes it. A bit like a clothing designer. They draw something. They don't sew it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what is
That's an interesting concept, yeah.
Well,
he was on 60 Minutes.
That could be one of our it's like make a video saying what is art.
Yeah.
There's a very famous Tolstoy essay called "What Is Art."
Oh, I need to read that.
I don't know. Like Maplethorpe.
I don't know.
Yeah, that artist who. What's his name?
Maplethorpe was the gay photographer that was really popular during the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, well, didn't he also have he put a statue of Jesus in a tub of urine?
Oh, that's the Piss Christ.
Oh,
I don't think that was made. Maybe it is, but it's just a jar.
Well,
of
I'm
pure-
glad you've heard about it at least. At least you didn't look at me and say, "What are you talking about, Alan? I have no
Yeah,
idea what you're doing."
That's one of the most famous piece of conceptual art, or what do they call it?
Yeah.
Conceptual
Well,
Yeah.
it started with a urinal that was put upside down in a gallery or in a museum by Duchamp in, I don't know, early 20th century, and he called it art. Yep.
Well, there's a very famous, I think it's a Rothko or something. He does the colored lines, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where in the museum they bought one of his famous art and they hung it upside down,
Haha.
and it was upside down for many years until I guess Fresh said, you've hung this upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's abstract art for you. There's no up and no down.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like you were saying, Elisabeth, how much does like the artist's personal life and his fame go into the value of his art? Like Jack the Dripper, or like or Picasso. His wild life.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a Pablo Picasso poster I have right now from like the 80s. That was the Museum of Modern Art in New York,
Mm-hmm.
1980s.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think Picasso is going to get canceled, regardless of what he did. He's just too valuable. Yeah.
Oh, Noteworthy Fish, Nicole, thank you for joining us. I think we are getting close to wrapping up, though, Nicole.
I think so. Yeah. I have to work tomorrow.
Oh,
Wow.
yeah, that's right. You're going to work, right?
Yeah, some of us work. We can't all be
I'm
retired.
just waking out. It's only 7 p.m. here.
Oh, right. No, here it's 10.
All right. So maybe it's time to let Elisabeth get ready for bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great show. Thanks, Elisabeth.
My pleasure.
Always.
Yeah, I got a lot of recommendations for reading. A lot.
Yeah, we'll see how many of those make it to the final 48 of the book.
And we'll see which book. I know there's going to be a memoir on my if I get in. I'm still man, but I think I'm going to get a memoir in my group.
It's almost guaranteed. It tends to be a quarter of the field. So out of 48, there will be 12 memoirs.
Yep. And out of 8 groups.
8 groups. You're almost guaranteed to have one.
Well.
Last year, there was a group that had 5 memoirs in it.
Is that? I wonder if there's a trading group. Like, I'll trade you this group for that group.
If not, there should be.
Yeah. On the black market. I want group A. Who has group A? I'm willing to pay.
I'm willing to give you group C. It has the world. You can read that.
Yeah, 2 for 1.
Yeah, 2 for 1.
Okay. All right.
This was Elisabeth's second time too, so thank you again.
Yes.
Your second appearance on the show.
Yep.
It's a
greatly appreciate coming in, talking about the Book 2 prize and the upcoming art group and whatever.
Yep.
All right. Well, everyone in the chat room, I appreciate everyone who drops by and makes a comment and watches us. Until next week, have a good night, everyone.
yeah. See you later.